everyone, and welcome to part 11 of our Pick Scraper tutorial. And in this tutorial we are going to create an ini file. So we'll be able to read and write an ini file which will store information on our last saved location for our pick file. So when we save a picture, let's say we created a folder inside, say, our pictures directory, and we saved it there, then it's going to remember that location by accessing the ini file the next time we save another picture. That way you don't have to keep navigating to the same folder if you have a favorite. So that's going to be exciting. But first, I want to take us and correct a mistake that I made in the last video. It created a bug that was very subtle, and I didn't even spot it until after I reviewed it, after it was uploaded. And the video problem is here in the spin edit key down event. What I did was I had inadvertently moved the exit down a line, and then I included the spin edit value within this if statement. So my spacey bad, I guess. So let me take this exit here statement, and we'll move this call up to here. Because this should all be one line. This should be only if on one line. So we'll get rid of begin and end, because the spin edit value that's being set there has nothing to do with this if statement. This if statement is separate. So that should be all there is to that if statement. And then all this stuff here is separate. Nothing to do with the if statement. So I apologize for that. That was my bad. And yeah, so that's the way it goes. Now let me tidy this up a bit. I'm going to just cut that and move the spin edit value down. And also the get picks argument really shouldn't have to be spin edit one value minus one, because it's already initialized down here in INX. So that really should be above the get pick. So let me move that up. And then when we call the function, all we have to simply do is use INX right there for our index for links. So that's a lot more civilized. That's the way it should be. Okay, let me just go ahead and paste in that down there. So that looks better. That's more efficient. So I think we're good now. That should correct that mistake. So we've undone a great injustice. Let's save it and give it a quick smoke test just to verify that it is working properly. So we'll open that up and we'll enter in a picture. And I know we were going with the space theme here, but maybe I'll narrow it down a little bit and just use Jupiter. See if we get a good picture of Jupiter. I just hit enter. And looks like we got Jupiter, Florida, I would guess. Okay, didn't see that coming. Let's go to number 15 and another picture of Jupiter, Florida. I'm assuming it is anyway. There are beaches and it looks Floridian. Well, that's okay. Cool. So we know that that is working okay. Now we can move on. Now we're going to start working on our ini file. Let's go ahead and add some more variables. We're going to create a string called selected path, and we're putting that in a string. So that'll store our path information for where we want to save our picture. And then we'll also do another one, we'll call it lastSavedDir for directory. So that'll remember the last directory. And then ini path. And this will be the path to where our ini file is actually going to be stored. So we'll have all those in there declared as a string. Now we need to go up to our uses library, and right after spin I'm going to put a comma, and we're going to add our ini files library. So let me just hit a comma there, and that would be any files. And so that's the library we need to use to create our any file. Now let's go down here. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll go back to the top. Right around the top of our form, let's add in a new procedure. And this will be our save any procedure, where we save our any file. So we'll go procedure tform1 dot, and we'll call it save any. We'll start it with an uppercase. Save ini. And then as an argument, we're going to put a string in here, a constant. And this will be, we'll call it a file name. And so that string will store our file name value, which will be our any file when we call it. So we'll create a var section, and then our body begin end, and end is automatically generated when we hit enter. So let's call our first variable, maybe v for variable, v any, and that will be t any file, and that's coming from our any files library. So now let's take our v any and let's see, any path. Okay, that's what it's called. I was trying to think of the variable we want to use here, because when we instantiate our any path, never mind. Let's go up to form. I'll come back to that. I'm getting myself confused. And we want to instantiate that any path here on form create. So I just double click that and created a form create event. And so now we're going to take our any path and we're going to set it to our application location. So let's do that. That'll just be application dot location. And so what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to generate our any file inside our application folder where it's located. And I just opened up our code explorer. I want that to be showing here on the side, because we're getting a lot of procedures and functions, and so they're kind of getting hard to keep track of, and also lots of variables. So this way we can kind of jump in here and navigate to different functions and procedures a lot easier than having to scroll up and down through the code and try to find it like this. So now in our save any, let me get rid of that semicolon and think of what to do next. So if I come down here to say okay, our save any is here, but if I wanted to go to, say, our form create function, if I double click on that, it takes us up to where it was declared. But if we want to go inside that function, we would do something different. Or procedure event. And for example, I want to go back to our save any. If I double click it, we're going up to where it's declared. Oops. Okay, but if I right click and I select jump to implementation, it'll take me to the function or procedure itself. So I'm right there. So that's kind of how an easier way to navigate between functions and procedures. So I just thought I'd kind of share that with you. All right, now let's go ahead and take our v-any and instantiate it. So it'll be tanyfile.create, and then we're going to have arguments in here. First of all, our any path, which we just called to, which is our application location. And so it's going to be our any path plus the file name, our application location, and the file name, which we're going to generate here in a little bit. And we'll give it an easy to remember file name. Now let's take our v-any and we'll go ahead and write the string. So now we're going to write a line in our ini file. And first we're going to create a category, and we're going to call it main. And then we're going to put in our variable here, which will be current, we'll call it CurrentPath. Okay, and then the third argument is going to be our value. And that would be the saved path. And I forgot what it was called exactly, so let me take a look. Selected path. Okay, yeah, that's the path that we select when we go and save our file. So selected path is going to carry the value of current path. Excellent. And I'm just going to add another one in here, just temporarily. We're not going to actually use this, but I just want to show you that if you want to add more to your ini file, you can just keep adding these write string lines in here, and you can put as many as you want. So you could have like another category and another variable. We'll just say something else. Okay. And then, you know, of course, another variable that would be the value. So you can just keep going with that and put as many as you want in there and make your ini file as long as you want. And of course, it doesn't have to be another category. You can add more things to a main category, like we generated. So I just wanted to kind of put that in there in case you might not have realized that or figured it out at some point. Okay, and let's put this inside a try block here. And then I'll just kind of highlight this real quick and tab over. I like to keep things neat, you know. Okay, then we'll free up our variable under the finally. So I'll just hit vini.free. Keeps our memory, our garbage cleaned. Okay, so our save ini is looking pretty good here. We ought to be able to save a file. Nice. Now if we go down to our menu items, save, click. Okay, save dialog, file name. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to come down here, and then here I'm going to put in our selected path, and we're going to assign our selected path variable to extract file path, and that would be save dialog 1 dot file name. Okay, so that way we can load that into our selected path variable, because we're going to need that path here. Now that I've done that, because save ini is going to be called from that function there, or procedure. Now let's go ahead and create another procedure, and this is going to be our ReadAny. So tform1 dot, and we'll call it ReadAny. Keep it simple, and then it won't have to take an argument, but we're going to have it return a string, or I mean a string list actually. So let me make this a function and not a procedure. So we'll do function. We'll close the parenthesis there, and then colon tstring list. So we're gonna return a string list. Can't talk. Okay, so we got a var section, and we're gonna create ini, and that's gonna be our tstring list for our ini, and another. Let's do begin end, finish our body here. Okay. And then we'll do another string list up here, I think. So let's do a comma, and we'll call it SLInfo. Okay, and that's where our actual info will be stored to our string list. So let's instantiate our SLInfo, which will be tstringlist.create. Nice. Let's do the same with the ini. So we'll instantiate that as well, right off the get-go. Okay, now we're going to do ini.load from file, and now we're going to call to our generated ini file, which is going to be selected path, which is what we set when we hit our save button. So selected path plus ct-pick.ini. We'll call it, that seems like a good name for an ini file. Nice. Okay, now let's go SLInfo dot, wait a minute, dot values. And then we're going to get the value of our current path variable that we had created in our saveIni function or procedure. And that's got to be added actually to that. So let's hit SLInfo.add. And then parenthesis, and we're going to, that's coming from the ini values. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, because the ini value is being loaded from our load from file. And so once we load our file, our ct-pick-ini, then we're going to load it into our SLInfo. Now let's set our lastSavedDir variable to SLInfo and then the first item in that list, which is 0. Okay, and let's put all that in a try block in case anything goes haywire. And we'll just kind of tab that over. And then under finally, we'll go ahead and free up our ini. Okay, let's see if everything looks kosher here. Okay, that's our file name. Let's go down here and selected path, yeah. Actually, ini path. Let's go underneath that. First, a real quick smoke test. Expected Boolean. Okay, see what that's referring to here. In our ini file. Oh, I forgot to put a string. This is a string, so it didn't know what that was. Oops. Okay. Now let's see what's going on here. And I could have edited all this stuff out, but I really think it's more educational if you see what the errors are, so they're easier to recognize when you're on your own. Okay, and doesn't match any method of this class. See, this is also, let's do, we didn't actually declare this, so I forgot to do that. That's what that error means. So we'll hit Control-Shift-C, and well, I mean, we did declare it, but we didn't update it when we put in string, attached string to our A file name. So that was a problem. And I also just changed ini path. So, okay, here's the problem with this one. When it says expected. Let me just cut that real quick and move that outside the try block first, because that doesn't really have to be in there. And then let's just hit that again just to rule out some of the other errors. Okay, this should be a plus, not a comma, because what happened is we had two arguments in there, and it should have just been our any path plus the file name. They need to be together. That's not supposed to be two arguments, so yeah. That should clear up that error. Let me go ahead and hit this again. And now we're down here to form any. Identifier expected. Again, Control-Shift-C. We need to put that up in our declaration at the top. So Control-Shift-C will do that automatically. Now it'll launch, but I see a warning sign there, so we'll come back to that. Let's go ahead and just hit random pick. And there's a nice pick. Let's go up to save. And in our pictures file, let's hit save. Okay. And it should have generated an any file. Except, let's see what this warning is here first. Okay, it's all good up there, so nothing beforehand is. Let me go to my save click event here real quick. Just want, excuse me, just want to do this before I forget. We want to do save any. We want to call our function here when we actually hit save. Otherwise, it's not going to create our any file. And I forgot to do that. So, and what was that again? Save any. Yeah, ct-pick.any. So we're going to copy that, and that's going to be our argument for our save any function or procedure. So let's paste that in, put it in single quotes. Okay, so we're calling to our save any file, which gets generated when we do that, when we save a picture. Okay, cool. Now let me just see real quick if it saves our any file, which it should. So we'll just grab a random picture here for brevity. Aw, horsey. And we'll hit save. And let's go ahead and save that. Save successfully, and now it should have actually generated the any file. So let's look in here. There it is, ct-pick any. Let's just take a quick look at that and see what it put in there. So we'll go ahead and open this up. And there it is. We got our main category, which we created. Then CurrentPath is our variable. And then the value is /home Toadwick Pictures. Exactly what it should be. So that's working beautifully. Nice. Got that created. Now let's run over to our form create and our any path. In addition to this, I want to actually instantiate something else. We're going to set our last saved directory here right from the get-go, And so that's going to be ReadAny. So that's going to call to our ReadAny function. Because last saved directory is returned from our ReadAny function, and so we want to put that into our lastSavedDir variable, because we're going to need to remember what that is. So let's just go down here, and we also want to read it. And another thing we need to do is we got to put a check in here. So if our lastSavedDir is empty, then we are going to set our SaveDialog.file name is going to equal, so we're going to put our path to our last saved directory plus our file name. And then if that's not the case, then if lastSavedDir is greater than nothing, then we'll go to this, which is SaveDialog file name, get user directory / pictures, which is kind of our default. Super. Yeah, okay, so that's our default. Now let's go down here and we'll actually call to our ReadAny now. Or our any. Yeah, ReadAny, isn't it? Yeah, not AnyRead. I don't think. There we go. Okay, so that's ReadAny. So we'll call that. Let's come up here to our ReadAny and see what's up with that little, got SL info. Okay, so it's loading our last saved directory there. Let's see what's up with this now. This warning does not seem to be set the result. Oh, yeah, forgot to put in the result. Function's not much of a function without a result. So our result's going to be SL info. Okay, so it's going to return that string back to us. I mean, not string, but string list. Yeah, let's take advantage of our Code Explorer instead of screwing around. Jump to implementation. I keep forgetting I opened that. Okay, so now our ReadAny. I could have sworn I set that ReadAny to our last save variable before. Okay. In fact, I want to put that in on form show. I think that'd be a better place for that. So let me just go down here to on show, and we'll double click that, and that'll make another event. So let's move that to our form show. This is, I think, a little better place for that. Could be wrong, but now let me go ahead and put that to lastSavedDir. Thought I did that already, but guess I was hallucinating. So lastSavedDir will be our ReadAny, and then of course that's a string list, so we want to get the first element out of our ReadAny, which had returned SL info, of course. So now I'm just going to put right line in here. I just want to see our path just to make sure it's actually showing our last saved directory here. And remember, if you're a Windows user, don't use right line or you'll get a compile error. Instead, use something else like show message. Or you can skip this line altogether. I'm just doing it so I can kind of get a better eye on what's going on. All right, now let me just go down here and open my console window. I lost that for some reason because I want to be able to see what we're getting. And let me put that in there, and not really where I wanted it. Okay, let me drag it in here. Okay, I just want the tab next to the other one. This can be a little tricky sometimes. Still not perfect, but yeah, I guess it'll do. Don't want to dwell on that too much. Let's open this up. Okay, and so let's load a picture here. And as you can see down here, our last saved directory is my scrape pics. That was a folder I created earlier and saved to, so that should still be there. And it's not. It didn't remember. Okay, that means it didn't read something properly, I would guess, in maybe our ReadAny file or function. Let's see what we missed. So let's jump to our menu item, save click. If last saved directory is nothing, then file name is last saved directory. Ooh, okay. I think I got this backwards. Yeah. Oops. Okay, actually, if last saved directory is greater than nothing, because if our variable has something in it, then we should go to our last saved directory. Otherwise, if it's empty, use our default. Yeah, kind of a dumb mistake. Let's do that again. Now I think it should work. So let's generate a picture. Okay, and then let's go up to save, and hopefully, and there it is, my scrape pics. Okay, so now it saved our location. That's great. That's what it should do. Ooh. Okay, what's this? Unable to open CTNE. Oh, the path is showing. That's not the right path. CTPic.ini should be in our application folder, not there. So apparently I assigned a wrong variable. Okay, seems like another dumb mistake. But again, I want to keep these mistakes in this video because it's really important for you to understand the processes, even when you make mistakes. So let's go here, and that should not be selected path. That should be our ini path. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in there. And we're going to add that. And our ini path is our application directory. So it couldn't find ctpic.ini in our pictures folder, naturally. That's why it gave the error. So let's go ahead, now that we got ini path in there, let's do this again, and now it shouldn't give us that error. Okay, there we got a picture. And go to save. All right, and we hit save. And no more error message. That's much better. Yes, that's what I like to see. So that's gonna cover it for this tutorial. In our next tutorial, we're gonna go ahead and save all the pictures in our list. And I'm gonna show you how to do that. And that'll be a lot of fun. So, don't forget, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. I love your thumbs up. And also, subscribe. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching.